Hello, good morning. You're watching DD News and I'm Preeti presenting this edition of Tracking COVID-19, a special half-hour show we get to each day wherein we'll tell you all the developments on the pandemic. After the successful execution of Vande Bharat mission aiming to bring back the stranded Indians from foreign shores, the government is mulling phase 3 of the mission, which would aim at widening its reach and efficiency. We get to the details of this. Also, we tell you about the global updates on the virus and also inputs from our reporters. Added to this, we get you a special report from Kashmir, where amidst this lockdown, an NGO is working to provide food to stray dogs and other animals to ensure that the innocent animals face minimum brunt of these difficult times. Stay with us for the next half hour. We get to the headlines first. Ministry of Home Affairs asks states to direct hotels to refund 7 days advance payments received from quarantine repatriates as the government cuts institutional quarantine period from 14 days to 7 days. Indians stranded abroad continue to be brought back through Vande Bharat mission. Government expands phase 2 of the mission, targeting 1 lakh people from 60 countries. Process of sending migrant workers back home continues under Mission Back Home. 44 lakh passengers transported to their native places aboard 3,274 Shramik trains. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients rises further in the country to 42.44%. Active cases in the country stay at 83,004 with 4,337 fatalities. Android version of COVID-19 tracking app Aarogya Setu becomes the first government product in the world to be made open source, bumping up its transparency credentials. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds telephonic conversation with Qatar Amir and Egyptian President, conveys Eid greetings and thanks both leaders for their efforts for welfare of Indian citizens in their countries. Prime Minister also speaks to President of Austria. The two leaders agree on potential to expand cooperation in many areas as the countries prepare for post-COVID world. Global tally of COVID-19 cases reached 55.89 lakh. Death toll crosses 3.5 lakh globally. On to those are the headlines. We first get you updates from the country in our segment Ground Zero. The Union Home Ministry has written to all states that citizens who have been quarantined in hotels after their return from abroad and who were made to pay an advance for 14 days must be refunded half of the amount as per the revised guidelines. The Home Ministry has intervened following complaints that some hotels used as temporary quarantine facilities for people travelling from outside the country were refusing to return 7 days advance money after the government cut down institutional quarantine period from 14 days to 7 days. Now, as per the latest guidelines, protocol for institutional quarantine has been revised to 7 days, followed by 7 days home quarantine after medical assessment. Now, since the repatriates can now leave for home quarantine after 7 days, the amount paid by them for the remaining 7 days needs to be refunded to them, which some hotels are refusing to refund. The Home Ministry has asked states to ensure that hotels refund 7 days quarantine stay charges paid by people returning from abroad who did not end up staying for those days. Vande Bharat mission now is set for its third phase, where the government is planning to widen its reach and efficiency in the coming weeks. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar conducted a review meeting of the mission. The focus of the meeting was to ramp up the scale of the mission and enhance its efficiency. Dr. S. Jaishankar, through a series of tweets, highlighted the key takeaways from the meeting. He tweeted, And I quote him, "There are plenty of lessons learned from Vande Bharat mission performance so far of 173 flights and 3 ships covering 34 countries." He further said that there will be further expansion of phase 2 of Vande Bharat mission, 17th May to 13th June, that is currently underway. It will target 1 lakh passengers from 60 countries. The preparations for third phase, widening our footprint, has already commenced. The centre is planning increase in entry points and expanded feeder flights. There will be a welcome approval of chartered flights from May 26th. Moreover, Indians returning through land borders has begun from May 26th. Arrangements are being made for amnesty beneficiaries in the Gulf. He also informed that the naval evacuation of our fishermen stranded in Iran will happen in June. He also announced that Air India will shortly shift to direct ticketing to facilitate bookings abroad. The minister said that the centre is working with the state governments for more efficient use of cumulative quarantine capacity. Under the Vande Bharat mission, the first direct flight from India to Ireland landed in Dublin yesterday, carrying Indian citizens and also Irish citizens from Delhi. The same flight will take back stranded Indian nationals in Ireland to India. The first flight from Russia also took off from Moscow on Tuesday. Indian ambassador to Russia, Venkat Raman, said that there will be more flights in the coming weeks. Flights also from Paris took off yesterday, carrying Indians back home. Around 140 flights from Gulf countries are scheduled till 8th June under the mission. Yesterday, Delhi welcomed around 175 passengers from Abu Dhabi. There were 4 flights scheduled from Dubai to Kochi, Kozhikode, Kannur and Thiruvananthapuram. And 4 flights were also scheduled from Abu Dhabi. Only asymptomatic passengers are being allowed to board the flight, while priority was given to passengers with medical emergencies, pregnant women, senior citizens. Indian Consul General said that around 10,000 Indians from Dubai are likely to go back in the extended second phase of the mission.
We are beginning the phase 2 plus of Vande Bharat mission from Dubai. We have flights almost every day to each of the airports in Kerala. But in addition, we have flights to Delhi, we have to Jaipur, we have 4 flights to Hyderabad, we have flights to Goa, 4 airports in Tamil Nadu. So a number of states will be covered in this phase 2 plus in the next 7-8 days from here in Dubai. Altogether, I think we will be able to send back about 10,000 people during phase 2 plus.
Gaya Airport in Bihar is the landing point for the special Vande Bharat flights. So far, special flights at Gaya Airport have arrived from United Kingdom, Muscat and Doha. The 4th Air India flight carrying 127 stranded passengers from Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan reached Gaya International Airport yesterday. Passengers are being sent for 14 days quarantine after proper medical screening. The state government has arranged a hotel for the passengers. 6 flights have so far been scheduled to land at Gaya Airport, and these flights will come in till 3rd of June.
प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी, वहाँ की गवर्नमेंट बहुत सपोर्टिव है और इंडियन एम्बेसी का बहुत साथ था, लेकिन फाइनली हम लोग को एक था कि अपना घर जाएंगे, अपनी मम्मी पापा के पास रहेंगे, इसलिए हम लोग सुकून से यहाँ आना चाहते हैं। परेशानी कुछ नहीं हुई है, एक्चुअली इंडियन गवर्नमेंट अच्छा प्रोवाइड की है, इंडिया में एवरीथिंग हम लोग को मिला, फूड और किसी चीज़ की प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई।
थैंक यू टू माय गवर्नमेंट एंड इंडियन एम्बेसी और मुझे यहाँ लाने के लिए। और हम लोग बाहर में रहते हैं, बाहर देश में रहते हैं, हमारी पहचान इंडिया ही है और सर दिल से सल्यूट करते हैं।
And from aviation, let's turn our focus now to the railways. Indian Railways has now transported over 44 lakh migrant workers on board 3,274 Shramik special trains till 26th of May. Now, the effort has been a mammoth one, involving immense cooperation between different state governments and the railways. The Indian Railways operationalized 3,274 Shramik special trains till 26th of May. More than 44 lakh passengers were ferried back to their home states through these special Shramik trains. In 25 days, more than 74 lakh free meals and more than 1 crore water bottles were distributed by the railways. In addition to the Shramik specials, railways are also running 15 pairs of special trains connecting New Delhi from 12th of May. The railways also plans to start 200 more timetabled trains from 1st of June. The Railways has ensured that all precautionary guidelines are followed in view of the COVID-19 situation. And on 1st of May, the Indian Railways started the migrant special trains to facilitate the movement of workers back to their home states. In the last 4 days, the Railways has operated 260 trains on an average daily, carrying about 3 lakh passengers. The top 5 states and union territories from where maximum trains originated are Gujarat, Maharashtra, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and Delhi. The top 5 states where maximum trains terminated are Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and Madhya Pradesh. Aarogya Setu, India's COVID-19 contact tracing, syndromic mapping and self-assessment mobile app is now open source. Announcing it, Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant said that transparency, privacy and security have been the core design principles of Aarogya Setu since its inception, and opening of the source code to the developer community signifies the government's continuing commitment to this principle.
Setu, India's COVID-19 contact tracing, syndromic mapping and self-assessment mobile application is now open source. Transparency, privacy and security have been the core design principles of Aarogya Setu since its inception. And opening the source code up to the developer community signifies Government of India's continuing commitment to these principles.
He said it is a unique thing as no other government product anywhere in the world has been open sourced at this scale.
This is a very, very unique thing to be done because no other government product anywhere in the world has been open sourced at this scale, anywhere in the world. And this product has had many firsts. Today, its scale and size is 115 million. It cuts across every single smartphone. It cuts across geo-feature phones. It cuts across IVRS on 1921 calls.
And speaking on the app's vulnerability and privacy, NICDG announced a bug bounty program for the app, which will be hosted on the Innovate platform. The bug bounty program will enable developers to share bugs and other issues with the app as well. There are 3 categories for security vulnerability with bounty of ₹1 lakh.
We will really welcome your inputs with respect to identifying any vulnerability or any kind of a code improvement. In fact, to encourage you, help us improving its present security as well as to help you improve quality of code, we have also announced some kind of a something which we call bug bounty and code improvement bounty program. We have very clearly indicated there are 3 different categories in which we have identified through which this the vulnerability which could be possible, through which you could breach this code. And for each of this category, there is a cash prize of 1 lakh for each of you. So I urge all of you to go through and try.
Let's get you an update on the current situation of COVID-19 in the country. India's recovery rate against COVID-19 is on the continuous rise. The current recovery rate stands at 42.4% with 64,425 people cured and discharged so far. The total number of active cases stands at 83,004, while 4,337 people have succumbed to the disease. In its regular press briefing, the Health Ministry informed that India has rapidly increased its testing capacity and is on track to meet the emerging requirements. India is now testing an approximate 1.1 lakh samples per day. As of today, India has 612 total labs, 430 run by the ICMR and 182 in the private sector to test the population for COVID-19 infection. Guidelines have been issued to states and union territories advising immediate testing for symptomatic and home quarantine for asymptomatic migrant workers. Recovery rate in the country continues to improve and presently it is at 41.61%. A total of 60,490 patients have so far recovered from the infection. The case fatality rate in the country is also showing a downward trend from 3.3% as on 15th of April to around 2.87% at present, which is amongst the lowest in the world. The global average for case fatality is presently around 6.45%. An analysis of case mortality per lakh population indicates that India has about 0.3 deaths per lakh population, which is among the lowest in the world against the statistics of 4.4 deaths per lakh population for the world. The relatively low death figures, both in terms of mortality per lakh population and case fatality rate, represent timely case identification and clinical management of the cases. The focus of the administration continues to be on prevention and containment measures so as to limit the spread of the infection. And Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu has appealed to the people of the state to strictly follow the guidelines of the lockdown and support in fighting COVID-19 pandemic. He said that there are possibilities that the state may have more COVID-19 cases in the coming days, but the people of the state should not panic and instead be mentally prepared for it. He has assured that the state government is well prepared and equipped to handle any situation with regard to the virus. Arunachal Pradesh currently has one active case of COVID-19. And as the restrictions in the fourth phase
आने वाला दिनों में हम सबका माइंड, हम सबका मेंटल कंडीशंस और भी हम लोग को तैयारी करना है कि पॉजिटिव केस और भी आएंगे, मगर मैं आप सबको ये अनुरोध करना चाहता हूँ, ये रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहता हूँ कि पॉजिटिव केस आने से भी आप लोग पैनिक बिल्कुल नहीं होना है। भारत सरकार और राज्य सरकार हम सभी ने मिलके अपना स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स हम लोग बहुत अच्छी तरह हम लोग ने बनाया हुआ है। इंस्टीट्यूशनल क्वारंटाइन फैसिलिटी से लेके हमारा कोविड केयर सेंटर, इसके बाद हमारा डेडिकेटेड कोविड हेल्थ सेंटर से लेके हमारा स्टेट कोविड हॉस्पिटल तक हमारा एसओपीज पूरा तैयार है।
And as the restrictions in the fourth phase of the nationwide lockdown eases, mills in Surat have started operating with 25 to 30% staff. Owners have started reopening some of the factories in non-containment zones in an aim to get the industry back on track. Around 25 to 30% of the power loom factories have started operations. The city of Surat in Gujarat, considered as the textile hub of India, is gradually reopening even as COVID-19 outbreak continues its uptrend, already claiming more than 4,167 lives across the country. After nearly 2 months of losing jobs following the enforcement of the nationwide lockdown in view of the COVID outbreak, the reopening of the city has now reignited hopes for lakhs of people who used to depend on scores of textile mills to earn their livelihood. And a fake news of reopening of schools and colleges amid COVID-19 lockdown was reported by some media outlets on Tuesday. It claimed that the Home Ministry has permitted all state governments to allow routine functioning of educational institutions. The spokesperson of the Ministry of Home Affairs took to social media to bust the rumor. The MHA categorically stated that all educational institutions will remain shut as per the lockdown orders issued by the ministry. No state or union territory has been permitted to adopt any relaxation. All educational institutions were ordered to remain closed from March 25th as the centre imposed a nationwide lockdown to contain the transmission of COVID-19. In a telephonic conversation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi conveyed greetings for Eid ul-Fitr to Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Egypt, as well as to the people of Egypt. Reciprocating the greetings, the Egyptian president referred to Egypt and India as being among the oldest civilizations in the world and expressed happiness about the fast expanding bilateral relationship. Prime Minister expressed his appreciation for the support extended by Egyptian authorities for safety and welfare of Indian nationals in Egypt during the COVID-19 crisis. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke on phone with Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. He is the Amir of the state of Qatar, to convey Eid ul-Fitr greetings to the friendly people of Qatar. Prime Minister warmly appreciated the personal care taken by Amir of Qatar for ensuring the welfare of the Indian citizens there during COVID-19 pandemic. In turn, the Amir appreciated the contributions of Indian community in Qatar, especially the role being played by Indian health workers. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with Federal President of the Republic of Austria, Dr. Alexander Van der Bellen. The Austrian president condoled the damage caused in India by Cyclone Amphan. The leaders exchanged views on measures taken in their countries to manage the adverse health and economic impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. They agreed on the importance of international collaboration to deal with the present challenges. Both the leaders reiterated their shared desire to further strengthen and diversify India-Austria relations in the post-COVID world. And up next, we'll take a look at the global developments on COVID-19 in our segment World Wrap. The United States is approaching a grim milestone as the COVID-19 death toll approaches 1 lakh people amid the ongoing global scramble to contain the virus and find a vaccine. Currently, the death toll for COVID-19 cases across the United States is more than 98,000. On one hand, we're on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. Nurses and doctors are caring for the living. On the other hand, there is another front line of those caring for the dead. Funeral homes in New York are chaotic and overwhelmed, and it can be weeks before bodies are embalmed or buried. Most COVID-19 victims die alone, and when they die, their families are told to quarantine, and they try to find ways for them to say goodbye. And as the novel COVID-19 pandemic shifted hospitals' priorities throughout the United States in March, anesthesia pre-operation nurse Rachel Hurtley found herself at loose ends in Virginia after the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, announced an emergency order allowing licensed nurses from other states to temporarily practice in New York State on March 23rd. Hartley and her husband weighed their options and decided to head to New York. They both boarded their 50-foot sailboat, the Turning Points, and embarked on a 402-kilometer 35-hour trek to Brooklyn, where Hartley took a contract in the ICU at NYU Langone Hospital. Hartley now works overnight in the hospital ICU, where work has been sad and rewarding. She says it's definitely one of the hardest times for us and our country, and also the world, that anyone has ever been through. Testing times here. And Brazil deaths by COVID-19 have reached 24,512 on Tuesday, with 1,039 new deaths over the last 24 hours, the health ministry said. The number of infections in Brazil rose to 391,222 with 16,324 new cases. And as the daily COVID-19 death rate climbs to the highest in the world, University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation study is warning its total death toll could climb 5-fold to 1,25,000 by early August, adding to the fears that it has become a new hotspot for the pandemic. Meanwhile, businesses in Brazil bear the brunt of economic pain brought in by the lockdowns imposed as they struggle to keep themselves alive. All along the normally packed streets of Brazil's business capital of Sao Paulo, shops are shuttered and the customary bustling activity has ground to a halt. Unfortunately for local businesses, the economic signposts are grim. Meanwhile, dozens of Colombian migrants, tourists and students remain stranded in Sao Paulo International Airport as they are unable to return home due to the lockdown issued as a result of the novel coronavirus pandemic. In the last week, over 180 Colombians stranded in Brazil following mandatory quarantine at Sao Paulo's International Airport because they could not afford to pay for flights or hotels, and they are hoping to get a response from the government as to when they would be allowed back into their country. And Russia said on Tuesday that 174 people with COVID-19 had died in the past 24 hours, a record one-day amount that pushed the nationwide death toll to 3,807. Officials reported 8,915 new cases on Tuesday, pushing its overall case tally to 3,62,342. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin set a new date of June 24th for a grand Red Square military parade. He was forced to postpone over the COVID-19 outbreak that is still triggering thousands of new infections each day. Speaking on state television, Putin called experts as saying that Russia had passed the peak of the COVID-19 epidemic, and he told Defense Minister to begin preparations to hold the parade in Moscow and other Russian cities on June 24th. His decision will go ahead with the event in June, and it comes as Russia, which has the third highest number of COVID-19 cases in the world, is battling to contain its spread. That's it in this edition of Tracking COVID-19. But before we go, we get to the reminder again. Please follow the norms of social distancing. Stay at home unless it is very important to step out. Maintain personal hygiene. Keep washing your hands regularly. On those words of caution, we'll take your leave. Thanks for watching this edition of Tracking COVID-19. Namaskar.